Hi, and welcome to another episode of Endless Curiosity here. Today is a special edition because not only is it number 5, but also I am going to be sharing my Dharma teacher training progress with you, and that includes doing one of my assignments, which is the actual Dharma talk. I have been on this path now of Buddhism for a few years, and along the way I have taken my precepts, which is basically, saying that yes, I'm going to go on this path, I'm committing myself to this path. You receive the precepts. It's somewhat of a transformative experience. For some others, it could be very, not very, very transformational at all. Others, it can be completely like a new life. For me, I really realized that it was a calling for me in the sense when I went to actually take my Bodhisattva vows. That's the kind of next step. For those who want to go to down the path a little more, you receive your precepts, then you take your vows as a Bodhisattva, and then for some the next step is Dharma teacher training, and that's where I'm at. Dharma teacher training, like the Bodhisattva training, is reading, writing, talking, discussing with your Dharma teacher. This is typically a teacher who is a Dharma teacher and who has brought people down the path and guided them down the path of Buddhism. And sometimes they're a monk, sometimes they're a Dharma teacher. My Dharma teacher in particular is a monk who has been doing this for some time. And without really further ado, I think I'll just get into it. So this now is my Dharma teacher training assignment, which is giving a Dharma talk. So here we go. And I want to start off with meditation. So if you're listening to this or watching this, if you're able to be seated, sitting upright, even if you're driving, just listening to this passively, obviously keep your eyes open. Most importantly, for everyone, whatever activity you are doing is focusing on our breath. So that's an easy one. We're just going to do a simple count to 10. 1 for your in-breath and 1 for your out-breath. And then the second one, 2 and 2, and so on. 1, inhale. 1, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. If it helps to count, 1, 2, inhale, 3, 4, 5, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or if you just go with the flow. Out your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Feel that sigh. The relaxation through your neck. Just a few more. All right, last one, in through your nose, big one. Slow out. Keep going out. All right. Hopefully that little grounding exercise helped us locked in for the journey ahead here. So to really start things off, I have to pay homage to my teachers. It's something I've thought greatly about. That really is the only means of me being here is through the path of lineage. So I am so grateful for my Sangha and my teacher Kosu. They are the reason that I sit here and that I continue on this path. And there are so many countless teachers along the way that I now pay homage to. Moving forward, we're going to go over a couple more tactical things near the end, more direct technical pieces that can be applicable in everyday life. But to be sure that we are clear, I want to make note that these are simply notions. These are not words for the wise, as they say. We can use notions and concepts to help us, yet in order to understand a notion or a concept, we must cultivate these notions and concepts ourselves for them to be known fully. Meditation through either means of sitting or deep service. Here you will see the insight, these notions in an integrated way. Today's Dharma talk, I would like to really focus on two main concepts. One is called Bodhicitta, and the other one is called ultimate Bodhicitta. I'm sure that some of those concepts may sound foreign, but hold on to your seat because we will dive into what they mean. We'll cover more of a definition to get clear, and I'd like to share now kind of how I came across these terms in the first place. Bodhicitta, that first really hit my knowledge of awareness, base of awareness. When I went through my Bodhisattva training, it's mentioned a lot in the text that I read and studied. And then it came up again listening to other Dharma teachers. And like Lama Jampa, he is really just an expert in Tibetan Buddhism, and he did a talk on Lojong practice, or also known as mind training practice. He really made an interesting counterpoint to what everyone really... I mean, you think initially like you would go the path of one before the other, and you would probably think, oh, ultimate bodhicitta probably comes after bodhicitta, like level 1, level 2, like there's some separation. He makes the counter argument that you should flip the two, and that you should focus on ultimate bodhicitta, and then as that opens up, you move down that path, you then move to bodhicitta instead of the inverse. So he is really saying in a different way that you first must cultivate emptiness and then compassion. Now, ultimate bodhicitta would be the cultivation of emptiness, whereas bodhicitta is the cultivation of compassion. Well, we'll spend a little time in between each section focusing on our breath and regrounding and allowing some space for integration. Nothing crazy. So with the kind of reverse in mind, I'd like to first dive a little deeper into ultimate bodhicitta. A quote from Lama Jampa that I thought was really worth sharing is, "This is the mind's transformation of seeing reality as it is." He's saying ultimate bodhicitta, cultivation of emptiness, is the mind's transformation of seeing reality as it is. And I must say, what a gift that is, to see that there is a level of simply just waking up, and that simply waking up is kind of a way into ultimate bodhicitta, and from there, this perspective, so much can unfold. But that's simply it. You allow yourself to open up to the phenomenon of emptiness, of impermanence. Joseph Goldstein, another wonderful teacher, has a podcast called Insight Hour, and he really broke down some wonderful aspects of ultimate bodhicitta that I'll share right now to help paint a better picture here, a greater picture. So, a fact is, he is stating this as fact, and I would tend to agree with this, that all thought phenomena are visitors, not permanent residents. They can be real but not true. They can seem real but are not the truth. And that second sentence I think I added because I was like, the caveat is they can seem very real. You're probably hearing this right now and thinking, oh no, there's definitely thoughts that are real. Things that seem very real, not very dreamlike. Yet, the real truth of the matter is, no matter how real or permanent they may seem, they inevitably will come to pass. They may rise again, but they will inevitably come to pass. Another point he makes is nothing is meant to be clung to. Nothing is meant to cling to. He means give it an over amount of an excess amount of attention or energy or focus or chi. He's talking that those one practice has the ability to cut through all the muck of working with suffering, with working with life, basically. He calls it samsara, which is basically the beginningless cycle of birth, life, and death, and then eventually rebirth. So that, in the Buddhism perspective, is the root of suffering, is these cycles of impermanence and for the ego trip, that is the ultimate, right? That is the potentially greatest fear. Thich Nhat Hanh calls it no fear, no death. So by letting go of fear, you let go of the ego. The walls of the ego may burn, and then you may free yourself from this cycle of endless suffering. And to do that, we must let go, right? We must not cling to anything. And Joseph Goldstein brings it into a perspective of water. And think of water as representing the open, luminous, pure nature of mind. Very just pure awareness, very luminous, very open. That in pure nature, there's emptiness and non-attachment. When we don't attach ourselves, we are like water free from afflictions, letting it flow. And there may be even a point where we get to the point of flowing so wonderfully that we almost feel like we're sitting on a rock. That is the pure state of just awareness, acknowledging, letting all things pass, nothing sticking, nothing clinging. This is the nature of emptiness. Another aspect of emptiness is, think of your mind as this river again, and some things we attach ourselves to become like icebergs. They collect or kind of piles of gunk, maybe. And some of us have whole islands and glaciers of gunk. For others, we may have the point where we're kind of, things are slushy, things are not fully built up, but it's everywhere all the time. And an unattached mind allows for things to simply pass, simply let go of things, right? And there's no one focus on emotion or thoughts in any particular way. There's no one focus of feeling a particular way. There's really fully let go, like a river. I mean, river's not really holding on very much, let's be honest. Or water in general, right? We may contain it, but eventually it flows. And that brings up a nice little side note that we have the ability then to simply select our feelings and what things mean for us. That is a selected thing that we have. It may be on habit or pattern, but we ourselves have the power to select meaning and select feeling. And that brings me to a point of empathy, where this is kind of the bridge now to another teacher I want to bring up that brings up kind of a more, I would say, a more compassionate version of ultimate bodhicitta, but also more traditional. So, but the last thing that Joseph Goldstein brings up really is that empathy brings us close to suffering, so our cycle of samsara, and compassion as a verb. So empathy brings up compassion as a verb, as a means of action, bringing us even closer to emptiness. That might sound interesting, I know. When compassion is the motivation to act, compassion becomes the activity of emptiness. Don't overlook the day-to-day opportunities for compassion. Feel free to begin again. Each moment, we have the opportunity to reinvest in good karmic activities. Compassion can be, and when it's a motivator of action to act, is an empty act. And you're like, I don't know what that means. So there's a level of emptiness that we still have to obviously breathe, and we still have to do things, and we still have to function. We can't just sit on a mountaintop and meditate all the time. Although 5 minutes would probably not kill any of us, let's be honest. We mustn't look over the fact that we have to act, right? But how do we act? That's the question, right? What do we do? What is the next right thing to do? It is to understand what it is to be motivated by compassion. All right, moving on. This another article I like to paint another little picture here by um, the Emerence Tai Situ Rinpoche. He is part of a Rinpoche lineage, very, very knowledgeable and integrated monk, absolutely, and teacher. He has a nice quote here: "The ultimate bodhicitta, which is always within us, always there, but when it is totally liberated, it is called enlightenment. And Buddha's compassion, Buddha's loving kindness, Buddha's joy, Buddha's impartiality are taken together the ultimate bodhicitta." See how he feels that there was something, that there is something that makes up ultimate bodhicitta. And what is that thing? It is Buddha's compassion, Buddha's loving kindness, Buddha's joy, Buddha's impartiality. All of these things together are ultimate bodhicitta. But we have to build off this point of emptiness. Does that make sense? There's a point of emptiness and then a point of building from there. So he goes down and breaks out kind of 5 points that would make up the levels, actually the greater levels of ultimate bodhicitta. So you have the basic one may be emptiness, and then he would break down, now that you're here, there are levels to the place you are at. First one, he states, "I will attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings." When we say this phrase, when we know what we mean when we say each word, we will never give up on this quest. That's stage one. When we fill here with "I will attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings," here, when we know this, we'll never give up on this quest. And when we know what each word means, we have gotten to level 1. I feel like it's almost like a game. It is some sort of, there's a level of playfulness to this, but, not all seriousness. Then building from there, this next level of cultivation, when we say it personally, when we say that phrase personally and honestly, our motivation will bring about action related to the first strength. This will help us gain momentum. This goes a little bit back to what Joseph Goldstein was saying. Joseph Goldstein was talking about compassion in action, and he says when you get to that point, you have now not only understood the phrase, but now you're acting, and momentum is building, which builds up, and momentum continues. Everything becomes a seed. Each blossom becomes a flower, and the flower brings new seeds. This is an analogy for karma, and karma also means conditions. So you are basically planting the seeds of tomorrow, which is bringing the conditioning of tomorrow, just bringing what you experience in tomorrow. And I think a shift that I've been making recently is understanding not only, let's say, this sort of going out and getting sort of experiencing, but what are we attracting to us? And you say that's kind of manifestation, sure, but a lot of people might think of manifestation as generating a greater aspect to one's reality. I'm talking about you're already manifesting, you're already reaping the karmic activities of which you sowed, months, years, and decades ago. That's already existing. So for me, I've gotten stiller and more silent to realize that, and then to realize what are these current subconscious and conscious activities that are bringing these sort of cycles, and then assessing them, and then realizing what the next right thing to do is. Is it serving me? Is it not serving me? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it helpful? Is it not helpful? From here, we can change our conditions, and then it really moves on. So that's number 3, is momentum building. Number 4, when I make a journey of 1,000,000 miles, I might miss a step, I might slip millions of times, but I will put my feet back on the path. That's that never giving up. We always hear it, but the journey he reckons here is millions of miles. It is an endless journey, farther than the eye can see. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm missing a step. I mean, let's be honest. You might even slip up to 1,000,000 times, he says, or millions of times. But you put your feet back on the path. That's step 4. And when we expect to make a mistake, we're expected, to make a mistake, it is indeed human nature. Human nature is quite chaotic. We mustn't lie about our mistakes. We shouldn't try to brainwash ourselves that our wrongdoings aren't wrongdoings. Oops, they are. It's simple. We must acknowledge our mistakes and get back on track. Really, there's not the thing I love about Buddhism is that there's really not much for dwelling, in the sense that you acknowledge it, but really other than that, you acknowledge it, recognize it, maybe give a little nourishment here, like a seed, and then you move on. You give it space. There will be times when we become invincible, in the sense that we recognize every mistake we make and we go on, or any bad situation that happens. We recognize that it is for good circumstances, because it helps us see all of our mistakes have caused the negative situation. When you see these negative situations and you recognize them as a learning opportunity for the curriculum of life, you start to understand the fourth level. And finally, the fifth level is to let go. There it is, let it go. To let go of everything at every moment. If we don't let go of good things and we don't let go of bad things, we get stuck, right? Back to the stuck thing, but back to our river becoming full of icebergs and clumps of trash, heaping trash. We mustn't get stuck, we mustn't get proud, we mustn't get arrogant, right? Because arrogance becomes a roadblock to future progress. So does becoming overly proud. This is why we dedicate all positive things and not all negative things. Let's just start with positive. We dedicate all positive things that we do. And when we are in a negative circumstance, we would say we would appreciate any sort of help from the community. This is kind of calling on that reciprocation, the recycling almost. You say, I'm dedicating this positive thing to the community of people, the community of those in need. And there are times when you simply just ask for that same thing. So when I'd say a good thing comes about, we don't think about it, we just appreciate it and dedicate it for everyone. Nice. All right, Bodhicitta. We have moved on now. Let's take some moments to reflect silently about ultimate bodhicitta. Okay, moving on. We discussed ultimate bodhicitta, now we're on to bodhicitta. And I'm sure some of you may have some ideas of what this is, but I hope this brings up some new light here. Bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion. According to the article by Lion's Roar, bodhicitta is the state of mind of the bodhisattva. I talked about that earlier, that I've taken my bodhisattva vows. This is a state of mind of a bodhisattva, which is a mind striving towards enlightenment and infused with the compassion motivation to help others. A mind striving towards enlightenment and infused with the compassion motivation to help others. Compassionate motivation. Compassionate motivation. That's back again. Bodhicitta is a Mahayana Buddhism term that is the combination of wisdom, understanding the true nature of reality, and compassion. The commitment to save all sentient beings from their suffering. So there's a slight distinction, right? There's a heavy emphasis on compassion here as a means of understanding, and there's a level of compassion in action that is the ultimate bodhicitta. That's the differentiator, right? There's the level of understanding and knowledge, and then in action. And I like the flip side of focusing on ultimate bodhicitta first, and then bodhicitta, because thinking of compassion in action helps you better understand bodhicitta. And there's a lot of material out there to logically, mentally begin to understand bodhicitta, or rather compassion, period. Uh, so that is one of the big differences. And Pemia Chodron, she's an incredible teacher. Um, Her teacher, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, was a revolutionary figure, and so is she. She puts bodhicitta like this: it's a longing to be free so that one can be part of bringing the awakened culture to earth. Wow. Bodhicitta is an open heart that doesn't reject anything. Bodhicitta is often translated as awakened heart and refers to the intense desire to alleviate suffering. And on an absolute level, bodhicitta is non-dual wisdom, the vast, unbiased essence of mind. I read that last sentence. On an absolute level, bodhicitta is non-dual wisdom, meaning that there's not a yes or a no, or a love or a hate. Non-dual, beyond dualism. Sorry. And is the vast, unbiased essence of mind. So it's non-dual, it is vast, and is the pure essence of mind. That level of awareness that we talked about earlier. She kind of breaks down a few points on painting the greater picture here. Pemia Chodron does. And the first point is that this is a matter of just simply reprogramming and taking some of these new actions as rep towards a brighter future. It's that simple, right? Like you've opened up to some of these ideas, and you realize that this is a level of kind of choosing meaning, feeling, emotions, and realizing that those are levels of programming that we have that go on like a program. Like you click enter, you wake up, enter, on, booting up, and then just ding, 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 ding. We have to see the shift once we realize what compassion in action looks like, or what compassion really means on a deeper level, and what maybe impermanence, how it affects us, how we see it. And then we help that reinform some of these meanings and some of these programmings that we have. And each time we show up, and then at least shoot your shot, that is so much of the effort. I've heard some people say it's 90% is just showing up. I'm like, yeah, I would say, sure, it's definitely the majority of it, because you can't even do anything if you don't show up. Moving on, she kind of talks about the fruit that we bear, kind of in karmic activities again. Helping someone will bear fruit in a limited way, where if our help is motivated by a longing to free this person from confusion altogether. So talking about this level of helping versus kind of helping someone evolve or grow versus kind of just giving it to them. It's somewhat like the, give someone a fish versus teaching them to fish, becoming a more self-sustaining. This is a very similar correlation. So when we just help someone, it's very limited. But when we help someone with the motivation, with how we do something, is motivated in a way of freeing this person from confusion altogether, it will bear fruits until they attain enlightenment. It will continue to reap benefit. It's like tending to the garden or caring for someone. When it is done with a deep, compassionate motivation, once again, the flowers continue to reap and sow. And when we start to activate this bodhicitta, this compassion in action, and this compassion intellectually, it will help us understand our cravings. It'll help us understand our letting go, where to let go and how to let go. And it doesn't really help. It's not required to fully let go of something. I promise it'll probably reoccur. But this helps us realize this sort of generosity and help us cultivate a looser grip on the things that make up our experience every day. Help us kind kind of just let go and not be so stuck and so heavy and so dense and so be stressed or anxious or worried and get out of these dense, heavy loops. Her great teacher, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, once said, "Karma is not a punishment. I'll start that again. Karma is not a punishment. It's the consequence that we're temporarily stuck with. We can undo it by following the path. And the path is bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. That's a big part of the path. He says, follow this path, follow this emptiness, the compassion in action. You can unpunish yourself. No, it's not a punishment, because it is simply a consequence that we are temporarily stuck with." So when we start to cultivate our intention, we start to train ourselves. Whenever pain or fear is experienced, we have this ability to have an open heart, right? Greet it with a level of looseness, a level of understanding, a level of kindness and slowness, right? We're slowing ourselves down. That we then begin to work, cultivate. This is that word really, cultivate, starts to have meaning as the every day, every moment, opportunities to have this sort of reprogramming, or kind of this, someone might say rebirth. It really kind of depends on how your thinking works for you. But the last quote of Pema Chodron, I'll close out here, is, "Although we may not always be able to stop ourselves from bringing pain to others, our intention to sort out our confusion and be of service remains unwavering." One more time. "Although we may not always be able to stop ourselves from bringing pain to others, our intention to sort out our confusion and be of service remains unwavering." All right, now we'll bring a little Thich Nhat Hanh in, the wonderful peace activist. He's a very interesting kind of video that he gives a Dharma talk on bodhicitta. And when you read, for example, the work by Pema Chodron, for example, The Way of Bodhisattva that I referenced above, talking about bodhicitta, she says it a lot. She says bodhicitta probably 20 or 30 times in the few pages that I referenced. Whereas when Thich Nhat Hanh went to talk about it, he focused on the path of cultivating a mind of love through beginner's mind. Having a beginner's mind is the mind of love. So it's that level of where he's really bringing it into something as simple as, when we strive for the beginner's mind, that really everything comes after that much more easily. So I'm not going to spend much time on beginner's mind. I just wanted to make that note that for some that might reference and trigger some things mentally that make a lot more sense. Beginner's mind is a simple thing that we can all cultivate in every moment, bringing this freshness, unattached, non-clinging mind to each moment. That is a mind of love. All right, a few breaths here before we get into some kind of more tactical things, more everyday things here, and that will help close out the talk. So here we are, a few breaths. Nice straight back. Oh man, reach up through the spine. Some of us hunch over. We got to make a mindful moment to really sit up straight and not forced, just stretched, and just reaching through our deepest core. Allowing the breath to happen naturally. We exhale. Inhale. And let your breath wander, and just notice it through your stomach, through your nose. Think, I have a strong breath. My breath fills my body with life force. Empty with each out breath. And fill with compassion with each in breath. Compassion, in breath. Empty, out breath. Compassion, in breath. Empty, out breath. In breath, I cultivate beginner's mind. Out breath, I let beginner's mind unfold. In breath, beginner's mind. Out breath, letting it unfold. Last one, deep breath in. Long breath out. All right. A little reset, a little processing time there, allow the brain to process all this information. Last bit here, before we close it out, is the waking life. Everyday waking life. For me, in my life, there has really been this constant play between compassion and emptiness. And once going and developing this Dharma talk really put that in perspective for me. I saw my journeys all as really a fluid line in some ways. How I came to Buddhism through Bhakti Yoga, from psychedelics from meditation, and American Yoga from exercise and going to church, and really just finding these moments of emptiness and compassion has helped me see how some things kind of lend themselves through more compassion and emptiness. And really, I kind of myself developed a few questions along the way that I'm hoping to kind of answer now as someone who maybe have some of these questions. So these are kind of roadblocks, let's say. Some are questions, some are roadblocks, and how you frame it, there are lots of questions. First one is, we get emotionally fused. This is a fact I'm stating. We get emotionally fused with the things that we think we need in order to feel safe, comfortable, relaxed, and content. These are also some very strong programmed habits and emotions, aka emotions and habits. We get fused emotionally, as in we get this sort of addiction. And I have addictions. For another time, I'll put those on blast. But right now, I'm not going to do that. We all have these levels of addictions and emotional needs. And I guess fine, a little bit of blast for me. I have a sweet tooth. I love sweet things, especially after a savory thing. So, like, I love dessert at the end of each day. I'm a big, and it could be like a muffin or a donut or a little ice cream or something. And for me, I've recognized this. I've acknowledged that, hey, this is kind of the fact. This is what it is. I like the sweet things. Is it worth, unpacking, changing? And for me, I felt like, well, I investigated a little more. That's kind of part of the investigation, asking these questions. And what was my story? What's my habit been? Is it hindering? Is it hurting? And from that, I found that a level of nourishment for me is this sweet tooth. That for me, I just need to cut back a little bit. I need to still allow myself some, but not copious amounts or excessive amounts, but a moderate amount. Not too little, not too much, just the right amount. And for me, I just slowly kind of cut back a little bit, and slow down. I tend to eat kind of fast and slow down, and that for me has helped a lot with a number of things that come along with high levels of sugar in your system. And I really just kind of walk through the thinking of what's called RAIN, R-A-I-N, and it's an acronym, and it stands for recognize, acknowledge, investigate, and nourish. When we have these patterns, we must do really kind of two things. We must slow down, and we must rain. We must rain it out. We must let it rain. Let it rain. Recognize, acknowledge, investigate, and nourish. This is a lovely Buddhist concept that I found is a great framework when working with just everyday stuff. A mantra that I would love to bestow is something that has been given to me through many different teachers, but it's our breath. Our breath is our mantra. Our mantra that softens our world around us and allows us to fall into new habits of non-reactivity, kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and liberation. Yeah, the breath packs a big punch. There's something, though, I want to take it a step further, and that's part of the many different teachers, is heart coherence. And there is a level of research and science data out there that you more than look it up, but just type in heart coherence science. And it is been used in Buddhism for a long time, but is basically just connecting your whole body. A lot of us will live a lot of our time in our minds, and 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 our eyes. Our eyes are our brain. There is no separation, so it's not really outside. It's still just our brain, our brain, our brain, our brain, our brain, our brain. We don't really connect a lot of the time with our body. Some of us actually live way outside of our bodies, so let's bring it in to connect our body. And this is where the breath comes in. And so first, there's 3 stages of heart coherence, which aligns our mind and our body and our heart, which allows for this level of kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy. And that is slowing our breath down. So we're going to do something right now, this kind of like a box breathing. So you inhale, let's say, you inhale for, say, 4 counts, but you exhale longer. So the first step is actually exhaling longer. It's helping slowing it's the opposite of hyperventilating. This is the opposite of slowing things down. So inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Something as simple as that. Inhale, exhale. Feeling the relaxation spread down through your fingers, through your toes, through your arms, through your legs. And then touch your heart. Step 2 is touch your heart. So step 1, long exhales. Step 2, touch your heart. I'm touching it right now. You can kind of see it right like this. touch it. You can touch it like this, tapping it. You can touch it by just touching with your index finger. It's bringing your attention into your heart, which is, to me, and a lot of ancient wisdom points as being kind of the gateway to our bodies. So focusing on our heart, slowing our breath down, and then going through a few moments of gratitude. Gratitude, everyone be out here talking about gratitude all the time. I want to point out that gratitude is the gateway to abundance. It is the doorway to a level of abundance, because you start to see, so our brain is naturally conditioned to see the fear, the bad, the worry, the anxiety. That's a survival mechanism. The thriving mechanism is to see the gratitude and the abundance in our life already. For me, in my life, it's recognizing even the simple things around me, like this box right here. This box right here is more than just a box. It's the box that I proposed to Samina with, right? It's an empty box. I could go on for days and days of all the things I'm grateful for just related to the box. Or my wallet. There's a story behind this wallet, right? That I'm grateful for that story. This pen right here. This is the pen that I searched high and low for, and oh man, each time I write with it, I am so grateful for the pen. Or this little crystal rock right here. I'm touching them. I need a little fidget toy. This is a magical little fidget toy, right? A cup of espresso. Don't even get me started on coffee. You get the point. There's so many things to be grateful for. We first, our mantra is our breath. To lock in, we do 3 steps. First, we slow down our exhale. Second, we focus on our heart. And third, we focus on gratitude. here is something very important that we must all recognize, is that there is a lost art of change. We get so stuck, and we must realize there's an art form to change. It's a level of curiosity. It's a level of, humor. It's a level of not taking yourself seriously, of humility. But don't listen to me. Listen to 38 Special. You know that song back in the day? Hold on loosely, but don't let it go. You know that song? Oh, man. There's so many little things like that out there, I think, in our world. Little rhymes, little things that can help us bring a moment of joy, of softness that hold true, right? I mean, 38 Special, a band here, is talking about letting go and not holding on too tightly and, not losing control. Although the song's about a relationship and a woman and desire, you take that part out of it and you put the context in just everyday life, and there's a good little couple sentences here, it has a nice little ring to it. But this is really about the simple practice of letting go and thinking about the moments before they get too far ahead of us, right? Man, I wish I'd have known that sooner. There's so many precursors to those habits that we have. So many little steps that bring us down to that point of maybe too much, of spiraling out of control, and that we must stop ourselves and slow down as a regular practice, so that when those times do sneak up on us, because they're inevitable as human nature, that level of chaos, that we are equipped. And I ask a few questions now. They are my questions. When are some times that you made similar adjustments in loosening of some attachment? What areas in your life have you already maybe done this, where you've done some change and you have changed some things? And what were those moments like? And go through rain with those. Recognize, investigate, acknowledge. I spelled it backwards. Recognize, acknowledge, investigate, and nurture those moments where you have already done some changing. And what areas of attachment do you need some investigation in? And very importantly, I want to emphasize the N in rain. Where do you need nourishment? All right. 2 breaths, and I have 2 breaths here momentarily. I'm just going to do 2 quick ones. And I've got 3 bullet points before my parting thoughts with you. Last one. In. Fully. Snore at the top. Big out. That one was that last little bit there was when you fill fully, and then you two like little pumps at the top there. It helps with really big. It's a quick reset. That's Dr. Huberman. He talks big on that. There's actually a breath technique all based around filling and then kind of putting even more oxygen in, being hyperfilled with oxygen and nitrogen and air, all that. Getting high on air, baby. Getting high on life. All right. 3 things we covered, really, put down to sentences. Ultimate Bodhicitta. This is the mind's transformation of seeing reality as it is. Bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, and beginner's mind. And then the guiding light for us all is our breath as our mantra of change. All right, here we go. I leave you with this. We rain into change. Water and sunlight bring new leaves, and we welcome it. Every action is important regardless of how small. Know each moment we have the opportunity to tweak our actions and mindset, regardless of how great the shift. The smallest positive action could result in a dramatic new outcome. This is manifestation. This is bringing about change. And may this change be full of bodhicitta.